Okay, let's get started. Thanks for joining us today for our tech talk. Can everybody hear me okay? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
I can hear you, John.
That's fine. Good. Okay, great. Okay, so today we want to give you a brief introduction to our Adroit Ignite HMI package. We will follow that up with a introduction to the application launcher, where you actually launch the software from. We will go through the built-in demo that comes with the package. We will then go into the designer and show you how to get started with the configuration of a project. We will then follow that up with any questions and answers, well, any questions from your side, any answers from our side that we may have. Any questions before we begin? Okay, no problem. Let's go. Okay, so you sometimes ask yourself, what's in a name? So when we came up with the name Adroit, it was because of its meaning. It's a French word, and it means clever or skillful, but it has various other meanings, which I've kind of highlighted here from a Google search that I did. Intelligent, resourceful, smart, things like wizard comes up, which is all part and parcel of our product. It is also an acronym for an advanced distributed real-time object-oriented intelligent toolkit. And that's where we get the name Adroit from. Okay. We are located here in Johannesburg, South Africa. And we have sold Adroit licenses in 6 continents and in over 40 countries worldwide. Over 30,000 licenses have been sold up to date. So you can see there's quite a wide spread of countries that are actually using our software. These are some of our major customers that we have here in South Africa, and some real international companies that you can actually identify with. People like Bridgestone, Maxion, Cadbury's, Anglo American, etc., etc. Hopefully one day your company will be on here. We are in various industries. In fact, most industries that we have Adroit in that industry. So we're not just a particular industry-centric software-focused company. We are throughout all industries. So this is our website, the adroitscaler.com. In fact, let's just go there and I'll show it to you quickly. Let me just bring it onto the screen. So this is our website. We're on the home page, and from here you can actually download the software, or you can actually go through the menu on the top, which would give you insight into product from an architecture perspective through the agent servers, the agent, the Ignite server, the designer, and the operator, as well as our services that we offer. There's an Adroit knowledge base that is there that you can get more information from. We have a whole bunch of quick start videos to help you get started. From the download page, there's a whole heap of documentation that you can download from here. Quick start guides, product descriptions, available drivers, price lists, etc., etc. Also from here, you can actually download the software, but I'll show you from the main page how to download it as well. There's a request for a demo that you can have here. And then, of course, we have a shop. So from the shop, you can actually go in, because it's basically e-commerce. You can actually choose which product you want, or what additional upgrade options, and you can buy it directly from here. Okay. We can actually click on the download Ignite software. That'll take you to this page over here, where we have 2 links, one to download the software and one to download a document explaining how to install, etc., and what the demo is all about. So if we look at the Adroit package and all the various components that come with it, we can start off with the data layer, as we call it, which is where all your front-end devices would sit. Now, we have basically over 100 different protocol drivers that we have developed, and we talk to all the major PLC or automation companies like Mitsubishi, Siemens, Schneider, Allen Bradley. So that is your data layer at the bottom. On top of that, what that connects to is our what we call the agent server, or other companies call it the IO server, which is our real-time database, and that handles all the agents, which I'll come to just now. And from here, you do all the configuring of the scanning, the alarming, and the data logging. Next to that, we have the Ignite server, which is basically our graphic repository. So from taking our configured agents, we can then display them in our graphical interface. And then from there, through the client layer, which we have a designer where we do all our configuration. And then we have all our operators where we can actually view the runtime systems. And that, in a nutshell, is how Adroit Ignite is put together. So we have, as I said, we have over 100 different built-in drivers that come with the package. There's a few drivers that need an additional license. Those are the Siemens and Allen Bradley Ethernet drivers, as well as the DNP3. But everything else comes bundled with the package. So from the package itself, the Adroit Ignite it's a very good value for money package. It's comes with with 8 agents, and then there's 3 other variant sizes: 30, a 75, and 150. And then on top of that, you can have multiple operators, and then from a mobile device perspective, you can have performance anywhere, maximum of 5, and Adroit Air, which is on your mobile phone, be it Android or iPhone. You can have a maximum of 5 licenses there as well. So once you buy a license, you can easily upgrade it to the next size up, or you can upgrade it seamlessly to the full Adroit package, which would then have clustering and hot standby facilities, which the Ignite doesn't have. It's more for small system builders, system integrators, training facilities, and home users, which is great. So the things you need to know when doing the licensing, or what you need to understand when you're buying it, everything is determined by the number of agents that you would need, or the number of IO that would be scanned in from a front-end device. And then obviously which front-end device driver you would actually need. Optional on top of that would be how many operators or view nodes you would need, and how many mobile performance anywhere clients, and how many mobile Adroit Air clients you would need. Okay, so once you have got all that criteria considered, you can then start building your solution. And just as a quick indication, these are the prices of our Ignite HMI. Coming in, as I said, the 8 agents are for free, and then the 30 variant, 75, and the 150. And then each one has got a view node price and a Adroit Air or performance anywhere price, and those are the 2 prices for the licensed drivers that you may require. So the last couple of slides I've been mentioning a thing called agents. What we mean by agents, it's a fundamental building block. They are intelligent objects. So basically, the types of agents we have, you would understand there's an analog and a digital. Those are the 2 basic agents that most commonly used, and they come in from the front-end device, be it as an on-off switch, or a temperature, a pressure, or any analog, any variable value, current, etc., etc. But there are various other agents that can be used. They're all basically configured through our agent configurator, which I'll show you when we get into the designer. And this is where you do all your editing, your scanning, your alarming, and your logging. Okay. So looking at an analog agent, it really, from the intelligence perspective, it not only contains the real value from the PLC, but it contains all the other scalings and alarm levels and start states. These are called slots and various get into the designer. And then from a digital, there's not only the on-off value or the 1 and the 0, but they also include the text descriptions for the 2 discrete states that they come in. So that's the intelligence that we have behind our scan points, which we then turn into agents. So looking at the basic agents, these are the basic agents that you can actually see. You can go view all of them together by unticking that box, or you can choose whichever one you want to. More will So taking your agents, you can actually make, you can animate various graphical elements on your graphic forms, or add more functionality by adding behaviors to your agent. So in other words, you could typically use behaviors to display values or to perform functions, and I'll show you them as we go through this. So really, if you click on an agent, or you click on a graphic element in your designer, there's the little smart tag would pop up in the top right-hand corner. You click on that, and then you've got access to your agents where you can actually configure your behaviors. And the different kinds of behaviors you get display behaviors, which you can display values, or visibility, you can make them show them or hide them. You can display a tooltip. You can also transform them, so put them in various locations or rotate them or size them depending on the value. You also have different colors, so you can change the color of a graphic element based on the state, or from an analog perspective, you can use that as a percentage fill on a vessel. And then you have actions where you have an operator action where you can actually change a set point, or you can have an execute command where you can actually open different graphic forms, or you can print, or you can switch users, etc., etc. Okay, so those are the behaviors. So in order to achieve our objective, we have a built-in simulator in our package, which comes free, comes standard with the Adroit HMI package. And this is a little simulator that we can actually, it's very, very easy, very powerful. There's multiple simulations that come with the package. It helps you learning to configure your software, and it's a great tool for testing and for training purposes. So highlighted in the simulator over here, we can actually press buttons here with operator actions to start, change set points. Over here, we can display what our batch weight is, and then we can actually toggle alarm resets and stuff like that. So it's a fully interactive simulator that we've used for our built-in demo. So really what we're trying to do here is, let's just take an example that we want to monitor the pressure of a pump, which would be an analog signal coming into our PLC. That PLC is then connected via a protocol driver to our agent server. And then through our designer over here, we will then configure that particular agent. Over here in our agent configurator, we would actually edit. We could then scan it. We can edit. We can put in the maximum engineering span, your high alarm limits, etc., etc. You can then scan that to the front end device, scan rates, etc., etc. And then obviously once you've actually configured all that in the designer, then you can display it in your operator. So these are the kind of interaction that we're going to show you now between the designer and the operator using our built-in simulator as our front-end device. Okay, so once we have installed or downloaded and installed the software, you would have an icon popping up on your desktop, like this one on the left-hand side of the screen there, and this is our Adroit application launcher. Okay, let me break away from the presentation now, and I will show you the application launcher quickly. So basically, shut it down quickly. So this is what appears on your desktop. So if I just double click on it, it'll run the application launcher. And it takes me to this dialog box. And from here, we can then run the demo configuration directly. No logins necessary, no passwords or whatever. It'll run. Then you don't even need a license for this. You can just run it straight off, which we'll show you just now. You can then get into the demo. You can launch the designer. You can make changes to the demo. You can add things, subtract things or whatever. But if you feel that you really need to revert back to the demo configuration, you can actually then close all the applications, click on this button, and it'll bring back the original demo back to its state again. From here, we can then also take a video tour. So this will launch directly into our YouTube webpage, where we've loaded a whole series of short, brief introduction videos on how to launch, how to edit, add, scan, log, create configurations, add a new PLC device driver, etc., etc. Very interesting, very, very worthwhile to watch. Please grab them and read them, listen to them, watch them. Going down the menu structure here, we click on the next one, and this brings us to the HMI configuration and licensing. Once you have, this is the licensing utility where you can, let's just launch this one quickly. Popped up on my other screen here. This is where you generate a license request, and this would then, you will email this to us, and then we would send you the C2V file for your license. And then you can install the new license once you get that. You can also create a new configuration. It's obviously going to default to the demo configuration when you launch it, but then you can create your own and then run that as your own project. And then you can also run the config editor, which allows you to do all the other application settings for your system. Moving further down the menu, this is where we can run the individual components of the Adroit Ignite, the agent server, the designer, the operator, the agent configurator. And what we've included here is a timed license as well. So in order to run the agent server, you would need to have a license, but we've included a 2-hour timed license that you can run and play around and get to know the system without having to have a license. Okay. Built into the system as well, there's a whole bunch of utilities. There's the agent browser, there's a driver monitor where you can monitor to see if you're connected correctly to your front-end device. There's a scanning monitor, there's the agent server monitor. This is the batch OPC server, which is our simulation package. And then we have a OPC browser and an OPC server that can be used as well. And last but not least, thrown in at the bottom, we have a quick start guide in reference to the Ignite demo, how to launch it, how to install it, and what all the various screens mean and what you can do on those screens. Just a sort of a little help me file. So if you click on that, you actually open up the document and it'll run you through exactly what I've been saying now. So it's just an introduction to the whole system. Shows you how to get started, what it looks like when it loads up, what all the various dialogues mean when they pop up, and away you go. Okay. So that is the application launcher. Let me now get back to the presentation. So now what we want to do, we want to get started. So I'm going to show you the demo. And then once we're in the demo, we're going to go through the designer and we will get started going through graphic forms and adding scanning agents, logging agents, and create new configuration and adding a device driver if we've got enough time. So let's get going. Okay, so let's launch the demo. Any questions so far? Okay, let's get going. So all we need to do now is click on the run demo and this will launch. So you'll see here pops up another little dialog box and it'll automatically start your agent server and your Ignite server. And once both of those applications are running, it'll start the operator and then log you in and launch. Right, so now we're in the demo. So anytime you see this little I information button, click on that and it'll hopefully bring up a little window. Oops, maybe it's hiding. Anyway, let's go through the batch. So if we have a look at the batch plant, let's try it again. Let's try this info. There we go. That info works. So this will basically show you what behaviors we are running on this particular mimic or graphic form. And we can just close that. So this is what we have simulated from our OPC batch simulator, which is this little friend over here, which is running on your taskbar at the bottom. So we've basically mimicked what we've actually got in our simulator. And we'll show you how it runs. Okay, so in order to start the plant off, all we do is make sure that we've got batches in our system and it's pre-programmed with 10. And all we need to do then is just start the plant. Start the plant would be an operator action behavior. So away we go, and we're showing here indicating we're now filling feeder A. So hovering over the equipment would then bring up a tooltip behavior. We're showing different colors behaviors when we are filling. Adding the water, you'll see the pump turns percentage fill behavior coming up here. There'll be a visibility behavior when the heater turns on. And one of the nice things that we have about our little simulator is that it has built-in failure points. So there'll be an alarm that will be generated at various instances throughout, or random instances throughout the whole process. So we can see that there's a discharge valve blocked at the bottom. We can then reset the alarm and the process will then carry on. You'll see here then the batches are now down to number 8. And we are batching number 2 at the moment. So we can see all these things. So we have, as I said, we have alarms down on the bottom where we can actually click on it. We can acknowledge the alarm from there. We have pre-programmed at the bottom various trends. So we can show and different ways of showing trends. We're showing 2 pens on the one trend with a legend at the bottom. And on the filling, we're showing the legend on the left, on the right, sorry, with 3 different pens in there. So there's all various ways. There's not just one trend for everything. There's all various ways you can display trends. We've got clicking on here, we bring up another tooltip, and we can also bring up a template. So this would show us a template of a trend by, this is feeder A actual, but by clicking on feeder B, I can bring up the same template with feeder B information in there. I can also click on the equipment itself and bring up a counter faceplate, which is also a template, showing you what the on and off time is for these ones. Okay. From here, we can actually pop up a little window with various, another little template that we've drawn up, mimicking what we have on the screen here. We can also show you the filling equipment, move them around the screen. And there's various ways of having modal or modal-less windows popping up, and you can close them, or you can actually still play on your main screen while these ones are still active on your in the front. So those are the sort of SCADA style mimics that we've got. We've also showing you what we can do on an HMI style mimic, showing you the same batching plant. So here we have exactly the same as what we had on the other screen, but it's just in different sort of format, more HMI look and feel to it, where we can actually change through set points. We can change the set point here to say 7, and that would show you the set point there. So the next time we come through, we'll put 7 into feeder hopper A, and we can show you the bottling plant. All the menu down the side there. By just clicking, we change the menus and we change the mimic according to what area we're actually in. The conveyors, which is running from the second simulator that we have there, we can stop and start the sequence from here, and we'll see various things happening. Built into the system, there is a system information tab, where we can show you all the system alarms, or there's nothing at the moment, or the performance of the PC as it is at the moment, etc., etc. And then you can have an alarm screen with everything on. Okay. Just by the way of information, we have added some examples of some mimics that some of our customers have drawn. So they got really fancy by throwing in 3D images, which really gives you a good look and feel to your SCADA system. Some of these ones are quite complicated, and some of them are very, very detailed. Food and beverage industry, we can have a sort of situational awareness kind of application drawn, or a normal silo with tables. Mining industry, they go for some gauges on their plants. Oil and gas, which was a mimic drawn by our distributor up in Nigeria on their project. We have renewables. We have more of a alarm annunciator type mimic. So everything is kind of possible here. One of our major water companies here in South Africa are using this, monitoring the water for the whole of the area. So that's basically our system. So let's launch into the designer, and I'll show you the inner workings of the Adroit Ignite. So from here, you can launch the designer. Okay. So you'd be automatically logged in as well. So basically what we've got here in the designer, there's like 3 sections. On the left-hand side, there's an area called the Enterprise Manager and the toolbox. In the middle is where we would display our mimic or our graphic form that we're going to be configuring or editing. And on the right-hand side, we've got our properties window. So if we start off, and then obviously the menu bar on the top, depending on what you've got in the middle here as your graphic form, will open up certain other tabs on the top. So briefly, let's go through the data sources. So in our case, our data source is called Adroit, and this is where all our agents are going to be sitting. So as we mentioned earlier, all these are all the agent types. And under, if I open up the analog tab, come on, these are all the configured analogs that we have with the same naming convention throughout. So if I click on one of these, open up one of these things, you will see all the various slots that are available to be used in any of your graphic form. Normally we use the value from an analog, but you can use the high value, the out of range value, or the deadband, or whatever, and use these. So it's very, very powerful. For every analog has got a series of slots that can be used, depending on what you want to display. Okay, so that's your, and then if you've got other data sources like SQL, OLE, those will be under your data sources. Okay, under your management tab, we will have our profiles and our security. So our profile, if we configure our default profile, this will be showing us where we sit on our machine. We belong to the administrator group and we belong to the Adroit group. Those can all be set up with the config editor. And our operator settings, this is basically where you set up what the operator is going to be viewing. So you show them what is the graphic form that's going to be shown when you open up your operator, and what size it's going to be, and what menus and what sizes, border style, etc., you're going to have on that. Okay. Thirdly, we've got our projects, and this is where we store all our graphic forms. So our particular project in this case for the demo is called ABC Spice, and we have various subfolders in here. One of them is just called batching, and if I open up, double click on the batch plant, I will open up the batch plant in design view. So we can see this. I can switch back to the operator and show you the operator. This is what I've got. This is now running in the operator, and I'll have the same thing running in the designer. Okay, but now we can click on here, and we can actually, there's that little smart tab that I was talking about. You click on that and you show the behaviors that you've actually got on that particular element. Same over here. You can click on that one and it'll show you what behaviors you have on that one. Okay, so that's basically, we've got a graphic form in the middle now. If we have a look, keeping to the left hand side, moving away from the enterprise manager, we move to the toolbox. Toolbox is where we have all our Windows forms or vectors or templates or data, be it a line chart or pie chart, all the various elements that you would need, different gauges, alarm viewers, event viewers. Let's have a look at some of the vectors. We've got buttons, lines, scales, whatever. And the Windows forms, we have buttons, labels, etc., feature boxes that you can actually add on to your graphic form. That we'll show you just now when we go through that. Okay, so moving over to the right-hand side of the screen there, we have our properties. So we can see here, this is our property window, and these are all the various properties of our graphic form. So just briefly, if I want to change, if I click on the background here, I can see the back color of my graphic form is Alice Blue. I can then make a change to it. Let me change it to a dark turquoise. Oh, that looks good. And then I can actually test it before we actually save it and load it up onto the operator. So I can run it here. So I'm now running it in full operational mode. You can see it's complete. My batching is complete. Let me just see if there's any batches to go. No. What we'll do here, we'll just put in another 5 batches. No, let's put in 50 batches. So we've got 50 batches to do. Let's start the plant. Just reset it quickly. Start the plant. And this is running in our designer. So we're running full mode. But if I now open up the operator, you'll see that there's nothing changed as the back color because I haven't saved it yet. I'm just testing it. So if I go back to my designer, I click the save button, which will then put me into design mode. I can now go back to the operator and my color will change. Okay, so those are the two things. You can test it before you actually deploy to the operator. Okay. Right, so let's show you how to now create a graphic form. Everybody with me so far? No questions? Everybody on the same page? Good, that's fine. Okay, so what we'll do, we want to create a new graphic form. So if I click on batching, the main tab for batching, a new set of tabs open on the top here. I can create a new folder or a new graphic form. Let me just click over here. So it creates a new graphic form for me, and I will be able to save this. Let me just call it sample. Okay. So now I have a graphic form called sample, and I want to save this as a size that's not going to be too big. So I'll make it 800 by 600. And I'll also change the back color to whatever. You've got 3 different color templates that you can choose from. You can choose the system colors or web colors. Change it to white smoke, or you can go for the custom colors if you like. Okay, so there's hundreds of different colors that you can choose from in here. Okay, so that's fine. White smoke will be fine. So I've got a graphic form 800 by 600, and it's now changed the back color to white. I will then go to my toolbox. I will then grab a text box. So click on it, grab it, pull it off, bring it over here. And I'll also go and take from the vectors, just for something different, I'll take a rectangle and I'll drop it in here. So I've now got a rectangle and I've got a text box. Okay. So what we want to do is in our text box, I want to display the batch weight. Okay. So I'm going to click on my little smart tab. I'm going to create a new behavior called display value. And this will pop up my little dialog here, and it'll show me, this is my input data element. So this is for the 3 little buttons here. I'll click on that and it'll take me to my data sources. And all I would need to do then is go down to my analogs that I've pre-configured, and I will choose batch weight. Just double click on it. It'll bring the value through, and the formatting would be 2 decimal places. And behind that, I can just put kilograms. So it'll display in kilograms when it's running. Say finish. So that's my display value in there. And in my rectangle, I'm going to add a behavior as well. I'm going to add the same thing, but I'm going to add a percentage fill behavior. So again, I'll look for my data element. It's already in the recently selected list, so I just double click on it, bring it through, and this automatically brings through your engineering min and engineering max values. But in my case, you can actually just change that to 0, and change that to, say, 40. We can change the color of the percentage fill. From the default, let's change it to a green. And we can also change the direction for the fill. In my case, I want it from bottom to top, so we'll just leave it as that and say finish. Okay, so that's that done. I'll save it. Let me just check on my graphic form that I've got batches running. Let's change that back to 50. So we're running we're running 50 batches. That's fine. Let me go back to my designer now, and I'll say run. And we'll see we have a value changing for my batch weight as a display value and my percentage fill as a in the rectangle. Okay, so that we know is running perfectly. So what we want to do now is if we go back to our batch plant, you see the batch plant is still open up here. So the batch plant here, I want to be able to put a button on this particular screen and call up that screen that graphic form that I've just created. So in my toolbox, I will want to go to my Windows forms. I'll add a button. Just put a button here. So drop it in there. I will then change the text on the button and call it sample. And what I want to do here is have an execute command, because now we're going to open up another graphic form. So this little dialog box gives me the option to various application or various commands that we can have here. But in my case, I want to open up a graphic form and search for the graphic form that I want to load. And knowing that it was in my batching folder, double click on sample. And in this case, I want to use it as a modal list form. And I want to close on the loss of focus. Okay, so there's all various settings that you can have here. Okay, so we just said save it. Okay, so let me save it now and go back to my operator. And you see the button is up here. And if I click on the button, I will pop up my little window showing you exactly what's happening in my tank. Okay, everybody still with me? So if I lose focus on the screen, it'll close automatically. Okay. So let us go now back to the designer, and I will show you how to add an agent. So I will open up my configurator. As I showed you in the presentation, this is where we have all our digital agents, all our analog agents, or we can show them all of them together in there. So basically, I want to see an analog agent, and I want to add an agent that's going to be called, this is the pump current. I'll type in the current, give it a name, and I will say add. So now I've added it, it's on my list, so I can edit. I can then edit from the default, the device band to 100, the engineering to 100. It'll give me a high alarm at say 55 and a low, a high at 55 and a high at 45. That's all I would need to do there. And now what I want to do, I want to scan it to my front end device. In this case, we want to scan it to our Ignite batching OPC server. And then from the address, I will then browse, and I want to have a look at my pump current. Okay. I want to have a scan rate of, let's say, half a second. And I'll say scan, and I'll add it to the list, and it'll be okay. So that is the easiest way of configuring an agent. Save button. And now I want to be able to display that current. So I'm going to put a label. I'm just going to put it above my pump. Let me change the name to current. And give it a display value. I'll have to browse it in, go down to my analogs again, down the list here where I see pump current, bring it in, and I'll put a big A behind that, so it'll show me its amps, and I'll say finish. So I'll save it, and we'll switch back to the operator now, and we'll see here it's on a 0. So the pump's not running, so that's good at least. So let me just change the set point quickly to say 20. And we'll see that there's the current running. No problem at all. Easy. Everybody agree that this is one of the easiest packages in the world. Right, let's go back to the designer and let's take the pump current to the next level where we're going to log and we're going to alarm. Show you how easy this is now. So let me open up my configurator, open up my current, and when I over here, because it's already active there, I can just say logging. I want to log this one. So how long do I want to log it for? I'll say I want to log it for minutes. I'll make it 10 minutes. And how often do I want to log it? I want to log it every 500 milliseconds. That's it. So 10 minutes every 500 milliseconds. And all I do now is say start. That'll be logging. Now I want to alarm this one as well. So I want to alarm. So this is the alarm settings. So all I need to do now is click on the high alarm and the high alarm, bring them over, make acknowledge not required, make it to the normal priority, select route 2, and away we go. So I've done the alarming and I've done the logging. That's as simple as it gets. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's go back to our sample graphic. What I want to do here now is be able to display the alarms. So in my toolbox, let me choose an alarm viewer. So I'll click on it, drag it in, put it there. Now that we're not going to see much of it, but what I'll do, you can dock this to the bottom. So it's going to be docked at the bottom of the screen. And let me just drag it up a little bit so we can see some of the alarms being displayed. That's perfect. And then what I want to do as well is drop in a line chart or trend. I'm going to put that in there. Just before I do any configuration, I will then just dock it to the top so that we've got, see if there's ample space here for us. Maybe I'll just move the rectangle down a little bit with my batch weight so that we've got some space to see the trend. There we go. So now back to that little smart tab on the top, and I can then edit the chart. So over here, we're going to be displaying the pump current. And we can keep the line blue, no problem there. You can change the color. All I need to do is put in the value, click on the 3 dots again, and we want the pump current. And we can actually fill in all the other slot tags. So we've got them if we need them. And that's basically that done. All I want to do now is change the axis. Normally it defaults it to automatic. So in this case, I want to default it to 0 to say 40. And that's it, finished. So I've docked the alarm system to the bottom, I've docked a trend to the top, and now I can save it. And then I can open up my operator again, and I'll click on the sample, and it'll pop up, and there's my trend running at the top. And here's my, when I do get an alarm, it'll be running. You'll see it running at the bottom here. Let me just acknowledge quickly. Sure that will come through shortly. I don't think we reached the high alarm there. No. Okay. Right. We're running a bit short of time here. Let me show you quickly how to create a new configuration or a new driver. Just close these ones down. If we open up the application launcher, we can have open the config editor. So if I, for my agent configuration, if I want to add a driver, these are the already installed drivers. And if you want to install a new driver, you click over here, and this will bring up a whole list of other drivers that are available to be added in. Okay, so just for instance, let's try and add a Mitsubishi Ethernet driver. So I do a right click, add device, give it a name, MITS FX, and okay, it'll bring up this dialog box, and here we can configure all our attributes that were necessary for our PLC. The one thing we need to change here is make sure that you've clicked on, if you've got an FX PLC, click on that FX5. Not too sure what all the other settings you would need on your system, but they're all there to be able to be configured. And all you do is say close, and that's your MITS driver pre-configured. Once you actually connected it up and got it running, tested it with the device driver monitor, that'll turn green as we have on our OPC batch simulator at the moment. It's running green, okay? And that's as simple as it is. Simple as it gets. So let's just break out of that. So we have made changes to this graphic form. So if we come in here to our designer, and if we're not happy with what we've done on this thing and we want to revert back to our previous settings, all we need to do then is shut down. So we can shut down everything, and that will shut down the whole running operation, the operator, the designer, the agent server, the Ignite server, and we're back to only having the application launcher running. If I say revert back to the demo default, are you sure you want to revert back? It obviously gives you the option. All the demo that we've just done now will be lost. I'll just say yes. And now I'm free to run the default demo again. So just to prove that the demo will run back in its normal state again without the changes that I have made. Plant will not have the sample button that I put on there, and there's no sample graphic available. So that's as easy as it gets from there. If I now want to create my own configuration, let me just shut down again. I will then say create a new configuration or change the existing one, all I need to do here, as you see, we've got the Ignite demo in there, and all I need to do now is create my project or whatever. I can include the default data sources from the demo if you want to, and include all the shapes and wizards, etc. from there as well. So let's just do that. Oh no, let's go blank. We'll take that one out. We'll just say OK. So now this will fail on me because it's now going to be looking for a license. There we go. So no license has been found. So we'll terminate. So all I need to do now is start the timed license. So this will start up the agent server and the Ignite server. Just show you that running. So this is running. It's loading everything up for me. There we go. It'll start the Ignite server or the Smart UI server. There, that's running. So now I can run my designer. Just log in. And as you see here, I have got no projects. So I can then just close all these other little windows at the bottom. I have no projects running in here, so it's a blank thing. So I can come in here and create a new project. I can call it project 1, say finish. It will create a project. I can then create under here, I can create a new folder. Folder could be, let's just keep the same batch plant. And under batch plant, I can then create a new graphic form. Test 001. And in test 001, this is over here. I can then change the size if I wanted to, or change the back color. I can then add any shapes and wizards as built in from the system. So if I go here to static graphics, I can then add any of the default tanks just by clicking and clicking on it. I can add various agitators. Clicking, I can add level transmitters that are built in. I can add motors, any different style of motor that you want, put them on there. So that is the easiest way of doing it. You can also click over here and then get the same static graphics as well and choose them from here. So there's two ways of choosing your standard graphics to put on different pumps that we have here. Submersible pump, put it on the control property. Put it on there, yeah. Move it around, size it if you wanted to. Right, any questions? I think that's enough for one day. We will carry on with this. We'll have a series of webinars like this where we can actually show you. If you have any questions on what you want to see or what you want me to show you, please let me know. And I'll be willing to assist. Anybody got any questions at this stage? Thank you, Tertius. No problem at all. Thank you, Gomolemo. That's great. So thank you, everybody. We'll be setting up a whole series of these tech talks. Watch out in your emails. We'll be sending out invites on a regular basis for these ones. Keep you informed. Any questions you have, just email me on this address at the bottom, johnd@Adroit, and I will come back to you. We can have a one-on-one meeting if you want, and we can set it up from there. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we shall see you the next time. Thank you. Goodbye.